In 2030, it's predicted that 1 in 2 adults, half of the United States, will be obese. Not overweight, but obese. Human beings are the only species smart enough to actually create their own food and dumb enough to eat it. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and then relearn. A lot of the stuff we've been taught when it comes to health, nutrition, we need to unlearn and then relearn to really get the results we want. Are we victims of our heredity? For many, many years, scientists believed that the innate intelligence was your DNA. If you got cancer that runs in your family or diabetes, it's bad luck. It's just a matter of time. You're just going to be another statistic. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. What you are your thoughts. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Find out what's important to you. Live on purpose with your purpose. Stop caring about what other people think, because we just established people are not thinking. And your human body is so amazing, it could heal itself. 1 in 400 trillion are the chances of being born on planet Earth. Yet we still question, is our life worth living? Is my life worth living? Am I good enough? You still continue to do things that make you unhappy, because one day you're gonna wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you always wanted to do. Let's turn one day, taking all this information, one day I'm gonna apply that. Let's take that one day and let's turn it into day one.
All right, bring up to the stage, my personal hero, Ben Azadi.
Wow, that was awesome. Love you, Autumn, thank you.
You too, no problem.
Good morning. My name is Ben, and I'm your friend. We're gonna have some fun in the next 40 minutes. And what's super cool about this morning in particular is that the next presentation and the following presentation, so the next 3 presentations, including this one, have been put together very cohesively so you could benefit. Meaning, I know when we go to conferences, there's so many incredible speakers, but let me know if you could relate to this. One amazing speaker says something, another speaker comes on next, says the exact opposite, and it's like, what do I do? Is that a challenge for some people? So me, Dr. Dan Pompa, and Dr. Mindy Pels, who we work together, we put together our presentations, all 3 of us, so we could go back to back to back to serve you and give you 3 lectures in a row with actionable steps that you can take and thrive. So the next 3 hours are going to be life-changing for you. So my presentation today is about keto, and burning fat is our primal birthright. I want to give a big thank you to Robin Switzer and the Keto Kamp team. Let's give them a big thank you for putting this on. We're back in person. Nothing substitutes this. Zoom is great and all that, but this is amazing. And also the AV team and the staff and the vendors and everybody who has put their help into this event. So thank you to you all. If you've ever been affected by cancer or heart disease, I want you to stand up. If you know somebody, or maybe it's you, if you've ever been affected, stand up by cancer or heart disease throughout your lifetime. And I want you to stay standing for a second. And I want everybody to look around in the room. 80, 90% of people are standing up, right? You can sit back down. We have a problem. We have a big problem. But the great news, we got some damn good solutions. We're going to talk about that. So you excited about that? Yes. Yeah. Here are some of the stats. 1 out of 3 women are diagnosed with cancer within their lifetime in the United States. For men, 1 in 2. 60% at least of Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic. Probably higher. People are not testing. They have no idea. By the year 2032, which is 10 years from now, 1 in 2 children, they're projected to be born on the autism spectrum. In 2030, it's predicted that 1 in 2 adults, half of the United States, will be obese. Not overweight, but obese. So let's think about the problem here. Hospital food. If, let's say, somebody's going through chemotherapy and they're in the hospital for chemotherapy, the food given to them is the exact food that could actually contribute to cancer growth. We got this backwards, don't we? And if you've ever been to a hospital, you probably see fast food restaurants inside of hospitals. Like McDonald's, you have doctors eating it. I mean, there's something wrong with this picture here. Human beings are the only species smart enough to actually create their own food and dumb enough to eat it. So let's talk about symptoms versus root cause. Conventional medicine versus those who are looking for root cause, like us. I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say last night, maybe this is not you, hopefully not, you had an entire pizza, an entire pineapple, not keto friendly, 2 slices of cheesecake, spaghetti and meatballs, 200 prunes, 50 strawberries, a pound of cheese, and let's throw in some sauerkraut. You wake up this morning, you feel awful. Constipation, acid reflux, gas, bloating. So you're like, I'm going to call my doctor, I'm going to make an appointment. Doc, I have gas, I'm constipated, I'm bloated, I feel awful. Doctor says, no worries. Here's an antacid, anti-flatulence, and 5 other medications, you're going to feel better. Now, are those symptoms the problem, or are they feedback mechanisms from the body telling them something's wrong? What if the doctor would have said, hey, what did you eat? Don't do that again. That's a perfect example of what happens when you look at just symptoms, chasing symptoms versus getting to the cause, right? And unfortunately, most conventional doctors don't ask about what people are eating. They don't ask about their lifestyle behaviors. They don't ask about they don't try to get to the cause. So that's why I love this quote. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and then relearn. A lot of the stuff we've been taught when it comes to health, nutrition, we need to unlearn and then relearn to really get the results we want. Einstein said, intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. You all are geniuses. You all are being proactive, not reactive, and that's what we want to do. I always say, if you treat your health casually, you're going to end up a casualty. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to end up another statistic that I just showed you. We have the power. Power is within the human body. I'm going to get to that and show you how ketones could actually harness this innate intelligence within your incredible human body. So there's 2 types of people out there. Got a long line of 97%ers looking for shortcuts, toxic surgery or toxic pills and surgery, chasing symptoms, looking for fad diets and quick weight loss pills, shortcuts, microwave thinking I call it. Then we have us, the 3%ers, who are looking for a lifestyle change. Are you a 3%er? Clap it up if you're a 3%er. I know for a fact you're a 3%er because it's Sunday morning in Austin, Texas, and you're here learning about keto. So congrats. 3%ers understand it's a lifestyle change. Understand the body was built to heal itself. And you're going to learn a lot about that from Dr. Pompa and Dr. Mindy Pelz after me. 3%ers might get diagnosed with a terminal illness. Their doctor says, hey, your condition, you got terminal cancer and you got 4 months to live. But a 3%er, their way of thinking, looks at their doctor and says, actually, your ability to help me is terminal, and they go on to heal themselves. They understand the body is built to heal. What we need to do, and what we are doing, is identifying the interference, removing the interference, and allowing the incredible human body to heal. So you're learning a lot about that this weekend. So how today came to be, I decided to share my story with you just because I felt like this was the right audience to do it with. Let me just ask you a quick question. If you do not know my backstory, please raise your hand if you do not know it. Okay, so I think I chose the right audience. This is who I used to be. Obese, suicidal, confused by nutritional jargon, 23 years old in this photo, followed a standard American diet. Mom worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Mom brought me home Kentucky Fried Chicken every night. Son ate Kentucky Fried Chicken every night. I mean, who wouldn't as a kid? My mom used to actually tell me, well, by the way, they're fried in canola oil. Autumn was talking about that, the Kentucky Fried Chicken. My mom used to tell me, some nights she didn't bring me home Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm like, Mom, why didn't you bring it? And she said, oh, I only bring it during the first week after they change the oil, but they change it after 14 days. And I didn't want to bring you old oil. 14 days of refrying, oh, let's change the oil then, right? Anyways, this is my life growing up. And I'm gonna show you some more photos here. Now, I'm 6'2", I carried it well, but I was 34% body fat, 250 pounds, physically obese, but also mentally obese, mentally bankrupt, broken and broke, addicted to food, addicted to sugar, and this is my 23rd birthday. I knew my life was headed down a destructive path. Diabetes, cancer, whatever it is, that was in my future if I kept doing what I was doing there. But something changed for me. I was rock bottom, and I was on the internet looking for ways to kill myself. And every time I did that, first thought was, what would my mom have to deal with if I took my life? My mom is everything to me, and I didn't want to leave that devastation for her, so stopped myself. Next day, crying, suicidal thoughts, looking for ways to kill myself. What would my mom do? Vicious cycle for months. Friend handed me a book, read a book. One book led to 5 books, 5 books led to 10 books. I read incredible authors like Dr. Wayne Dyer, Bob Proctor, Lisa Nichols, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale. And the books were incredible because it opened up a whole new world to me. But the most important thing that it did for me, and the most important thing that this lecture I believe can do for you, and the first step to changing your life, starts with these 3 words right here. Now that word, responsibility, that is our ability to respond to life. My ability to respond to life up until that point was poor. I was the victim of my history, my genetics, my enabling family members. When I took responsibility, I became the victor of my destiny. So I want everybody with me, we're going to do a participation here, thank you, of declaring responsibility together. So on the count of 3, we're going to shout out, I am responsible. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I am responsible. That's right. That's where it starts. And 9 months later for me, after taking responsibility, I went from 250 pounds down to 170 pounds. I went from 34% body fat to 6% body fat, size 38 waist to size 30. Finally achieved a physical 6-pack. Not that that is synonymous with good health, by the way, but the most important thing that I achieved was a mental 6-pack, what it did for my mental health. And I started to understand how important our thoughts are towards healing our body. More on that a little bit later. And that's what got me started in the health space 14 years ago, and I've been a student ever since, learning, applying, extracting, applying again. And that's what got me started. So why I'm really here with you, though, is because of this. That's a photo of me and my dad. Sirus Azadi is his name. My dad immigrated here from Iran with my mom back in the 1970s, and I was blessed, so grateful to be born in America, in Miami Beach, Florida. My dad followed a standard American diet. We know it's a very toxic, processed diet. And he developed type 2 diabetes. I never really understood type 2 diabetes, the disease, and I would take my dad to his doctor's appointments, get his insulin, get his medication, and take him grocery shopping. They told me to get him like Gatorade Zero and Fiber One bars and all these processed foods, and made sure he had candies with him in case his blood sugars dropped too low. I listened to them, right? I didn't know any better. I wasn't aware. And my dad ended up getting worse and worse and worse. And my dad called me November 2013, and he says he was having a lot of difficulties walking to the bathroom. He had really bad diabetic neuropathy where his nerves were damaged in his feet, and he couldn't even walk to the restroom. So I pick him up with my mom, take him to the hospital emergency room, Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami Beach. Put him in the hospital room, he got a bed, they're looking at him, and my dad was so stressed out at the hospital because you know what happens next. If you don't take care of your diabetes, especially neuropathy, amputation is in your future in order to preserve the body so an infection doesn't spread. My dad knew this, and in the hospital, my dad suffered a massive stroke, which left him paralyzed and the inability to speak. And after that, they transferred my dad to hospice care, and I visited my dad every single day in hospice care. Didn't really know how to help the situation. I just know I could show up, I could play music for him, I could speak to him and speak love to him, but he couldn't speak back to me. And this went on for 9 months, walking into the hospice room, consoling my dad, putting on this persona of everything's gonna be okay, I love you, and playing music for him. And I remember walking in on August 11th, 2014, walking into that hospice room, and I had to get myself ready to walk into that room. If you've ever been to a hospice place, it's a very difficult place to be, the energy there. So I remember being outside the door of my dad's room, getting ready to get myself ready to go, cheer him up, and putting on this persona. And I open up the door to go cheer him up, and I walk in, and he's convulsing, shaking, he's throwing up on himself. And I immediately run into the hallway, and I'm flagging down nurses. My dad needs help. My dad needs help. Please come in here. And they rush in the room. They start working on him and cleaning him up. And a couple hours later, he looked a lot better. He's no longer throwing up on himself. And I remember walking up to him that night, looking at him right in the eyes, telling him how much I loved him. I'm always going to be his son. He's always going to be my dad. I kissed him on the forehead. I said the words, "Hasta la vista, baby." And I said that because he used to always say it to me from the movie Terminator. We love that movie. And I kissed him again, and I walked out of that room. And if you've ever dealt with a loved one who has gone through this, you know exactly what I'm speaking about here. Crying on the way home in the car, getting home and crying and praying. And I said the same prayer I said every night for months, which was, God, please end my father's suffering. Enough is enough. And I went to bed, woke up the next day, get a phone call. I look at my phone. It's the hospice. And my heart sinks in my chest. Heart starts beating fast. I pick up the phone, and it's the nurse letting me know my dad passed away. He stopped breathing that morning, and he passed away. Less than 24 hours after that whole situation. And I remember sitting on the couch there, crying with so many questions, so many emotions. Why did this happen to my dad? Why are so many people sick? I followed all of the advice the doctors told me to do. And I lost my dad, and he suffered, I suffered, everybody around him suffered. And it raised a lot of questions for me. And I believe I was given that mountain so I could show the world that the mountain can be moved. The human body is amazing. And I know, same information I'm going to share today, same information that would have saved my dad's life. But now it is my duty, responsibility, and obligation to share it with as many people as possible. You have a message, and you have your own story. And it is your duty, responsibility, and obligation to share it with as many people as possible. Because this suffering is not necessary here. That's the reason I'm with you today. Now, when we think about being healthy, when we think about the combination to a code, the amazing thing about having the combination to a code is that it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, where you live in this world. It doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, you're brown. If you have the combination to a code, you unlock the code. So we're going to talk about having the combination to your health code. The innate intelligence is the combination to your health code. There's no pill, surgery, or supplement that could substitute the innate intelligence within your cells right now. Are we victims of our heredity? For many, many years, scientists believed that the innate intelligence was your DNA, meaning if you got cancer that runs in your family or diabetes, it's bad luck. It's just a matter of time. You're just going to be another statistic. I used to have that thinking. There was a gentleman that came on the scene named Dr. Bruce Lipton who wanted to challenge this notion of our genes being our destiny. So what Dr. Bruce Lipton did is he would actually look at cells, as you see on the screen here, remove the DNA nucleus, and observe what happened next. The cells went on to live for 2 months, sometimes even longer, functioning just fine. That goes to show you that your intelligence, your innate intelligence, is not your DNA. That is the wrong premise. So he decided, all right, where is the intelligence of the cell? So as you can see, I don't have a pointer here, but every cell has this lipid bilayer around it, the membrane, made up of protein, saturated fat, and cholesterol. Those are bad words to your doctor, but that's what your cells are made of. And he said, okay, let's remove the membrane from the cell, which he did, instant death. right? The membrane is where the intelligence is. It communicates with your DNA. It's the bodyguard of your cells. And it loves healthy fat. It loves protein. It loves doing all the things you're learning this weekend. And this is how it works. And he calls it the membrane because it's the intelligence of your cells. Every membrane has these receptor sites that are communicating, this amazing orchestra in your body that are communicating with hormones, with thoughts, with nutrients, with oxygen, and many other things. And when that environmental stimulus binds to the membrane, there's a chemical reaction that reaches the cell nucleus, and then a gene becomes expressed. Now, if it's a negative inflammatory environmental stimulus, the gene expressed is an inflammatory gene. But if you're giving your body healthy food, healthy thoughts, building blocks, it's going to be a gene that's expressed that's anti-inflammatory. This is epigenetics. Dr. Bruce Lipton believes that 99% of disease is under our control, meaning less than 1% is strictly genetics. How empowering is that? That's the premise that I want to follow, right? So let's talk about how ketones and keto can support the membrane. Inside of your cells, you have the mitochondria. This is one, so it's called the mitochondrion. You know it probably as the powerhouse of the cells, produces energy, energy factory, does way more than that. But let me ask you this question. And the doctors and the other speakers in here can't answer this question, but which cells in your body have the highest concentration of mitochondria? Who wants to shout out guesses? Ovaries. What else? Skeletal muscle, brain. Heart. Okay, those are great answers. So it is the brain. There's regions in the brain that have over 2 million mitochondria in a single cell. But the ovaries are up there as well, Suzanne. The heart, the eyeballs. But here's the point. I believe in God, so I'm going to say God, and you could replace that word. But God built this body to thrive. And the cells in your body that have the most mitochondria, which are very important, are the cells that are needed for survival. So if you're taking notes here, I want you to write this down in your notes. The number one priority for the innate intelligence is survival. The number one priority for the human body is survival. So the brain, you need to be able to think, to catch your predator, run away, to critically think. The eyeballs, you need to be able to see your prey. The heart, the ovaries, reproduction. Other cells have hundreds of, maybe thousands of mitochondria, but the ones that are very important have the most. That's how important the mitochondria are. So the mitochondria takes fuel sources, glucose, fatty acids, amino acids, and it produces energy, which is ATP. Basic understanding, ATP is like the gasoline of your cells, but the mitochondria do much more than that. They're actually a surveillance system that's assessing what's going on in the body. And if there's too much stress, chemical, physical, emotional, it shuts down energy production to preserve life. The mitochondria have its own intelligence, and it's estimated by when you're 70 years old, about 70% of your mitochondria is lost. That doesn't have to be the case. That's just for the average people not doing what we're doing, right? So we want to find ways to support the mitochondria. We're at KetoCon. How do ketones support the mitochondria? Let's talk about that. We think about the two options for fuel. And this is funny because I'm laughing because where's my beautiful fiancée Natasha? Before going to bed, I happened to check my YouTube comments for some reason. And somebody said, hey, I want to let you know the video that Dr. Lane Norton just made about you, he's just an angry man, and we know your heart, we know you're caring, and he's extrapolating, like cherry picking your dad. I'm like, he's making another video of me? I don't know if you know who Lane Norton is. So I'm like, I look on his Instagram, I'm like, I don't see anything. And then I look on his YouTube, I'm like, oh, another video. And this is like his sixth, he goes after people, but look, I got nothing but love for Lane. I don't have the gear switch of hate, so I send love to him. But it was about this, which is what reminded me to share this story about how, ketones are not a super fuel and how we need to burn glucose and just be active. And he's a bodybuilder, of course, but 88% of Americans are not doing what Lane is doing. So Lane, if this video gets to you somehow, I love you, man. No hate in my heart for you, dude. So which is going to get you farther? Of course, the car on the right here, but let's explain that a little bit more. when we look at the electron transport chain in the human body, a molecule of glucose gets you about 32 to 36 ATP. That's the gasoline of your cell, energy. A molecule of ketones gives you 400% more. Whew. That's why you feel so damn good when you're in ketosis. But why does this happen? Because ketones signal to the mitochondria to make more of themselves. And we've just established how important the mitochondria are. This is called mitogenesis. And that's why you see studies after studies that show ketones are going to protect the mitochondria and extend lifespan. You can take a screenshot of those studies. If you want my slides, by the way, email us, support@ketocamp.com. Alina's going to get a lot of emails. Support@ketocamp.com, and we'll get it to you. So, and then we know that when your cells are burning sugar, it's like having a big fire with one firefighter to keep up with. It's just not going to keep up with the reactive oxygen species, the free radicals. So that's the problem. And I love this analogy from Dr. Gundry, who gives this analogy of mitochondrial uncoupling. So it's like a pressure cooker. When you are using a pressure cooker and there's too much steam, think of that as reactive oxygen species. You have these release valves that get rid of the steam. That's kind of what's happening at the cellular level with your mitochondria when ketones are being produced. Hey, quick question on the time here. Is that until the Q&A or the total time, the 15? That's total? Oh, shoot. So who do you want protecting your cells? McLovin which is glucose, or the Secret Service, right? So we don't want McLovin. He's cool, but not in this situation. Burning fat is our primal birthright. Babies that are breastfed actually go in and out of ketosis because breast milk has saturated fat and cholesterol. Keto is not a diet, right? It's high-octane brain fuel. Throughout much of human evolution, ketosis likely served as a valuable survival mechanism to fuel brain metabolism during times of food scarcity. In some ways, the modern diet could be considered keto deficient. So there's a study out there, Cynthia Thurlow mentioned the study, maybe other speakers mentioned it. Only 12% of American adults are metabolically healthy. I'm going to rephrase that and rewrite that and say 88% of American adults are in a keto deficiency. That's the real problem. Keto is not a fad diet. The real fad diet is the standard American diet. Keto has been around for as long as humans have existed. This fad diet is only about 40 years old. So one important point on foods to eat on keto, and then we're going to get into something else that's really important. Not all keto foods are created equal. You heard Autumn talk about, when she introduced me, and I love Autumn, she talked about that canola oil video. So later on, go on YouTube and type in how canola oil is made. But here's the point. When we think about these two experts I've interviewed on the KetoCon podcast, Dr. Kay Shanahan, Brian Peskin, this question came up: what's worse for you, smoking cigarettes or eating vegetable oils? And according to Peskin's research, he said if somebody smoked 2 packs of cigarettes each day, the chances of them developing lung cancer is about 16% in those 28 years. Then he said if somebody ate vegetable oils for 28 years, the chances of them getting cancer or heart disease in the 28 years is 86%. That's just one man's research. I said, hey, Dr. Kay Shanahan, does this line up with your research? And she said, actually, Ben, this is closer to 100%. These are highly inflammatory, and they're in a lot of keto foods and keto products. It's called linoleic acid. What's the half-life? What do you think, meaning if you remove them today, half of it will remain in your body for how long?
2 years.
Yeah, you're smart. 2 years, right? That's why I think it's worse than even having sugar. You could burn off sugar. These stick around for a long time. So here's the list for you. Take a quick screenshot. Avoid these as much as possible. Canola, corn, soybean, cottonseed, safflower, peanut, sunflower, grapeseed, fish oil. We'll talk about it later, and rice bran oil. Switch to these, stable fats. Olive oil, avocado oil, beef tallow, butter, duck fat, lard, coconut oil. That simple swap right there will go a long way for you. Again, you can get these slides later on today. If you want a free download of a keto grocery shopping list, ketocampblueprint.com. And my book also has this in there, and we're doing a book signing. We're doing a book signing at the Niche booth. After Mindy's lecture, we're giving away 180 copies. So 60 of mine, 60 of Mindy's, 60 of Dr. Pompa's, and we're going to sign it for you after Mindy's lecture. So it's at the Niche booth right out there. free books and signed, and we'll answer your questions for you as well. So, and also after me is I call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the Michael Jordan of educators here, Dr. Pumpa, who's sitting here. He's after me, he's gonna build on my lecture, and then Mindy's after him. She's gonna teach you fasting strategies, fast like a girl, she's the fasting queen. So make sure you watch them after me. Final thoughts, I got 11 minutes to go. Let's see if I can nail this. This is the most important part of what I'm gonna teach today. So thank you for being here for that. We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination, Neville Goddard. I believe 95% of your results with health and in life is inside. 5% is strategy, macros, and all that. 95% in here. So let's talk about that. Weakness of attention. The subconscious mind accepts everything as truth. Dr. Donald Vega, I don't know if he's in here, but he talks about this a lot. And here's weakness of attention. Mainstream media, social media, mainstream news, social media, friends, family, coworkers, billboards. We are being bombarded with negativity. We need to protect our environment, step number one. Step number two is get this vitamin in your body every single day. It is the world's most potent vitamin in the world. Dr. Joe Dispenza did brain scans on hundreds of participants, and he saw 1,200 different chemical reactions that went on in the body immediately to repair the body when they took this vitamin. It's called vitamin gratitude. Vitamin G, baby. Easy to do, easy not to do, but universal law states what you appreciate appreciates, what you feed energy to expands. How many of us, and I'm guilty of it as well, are thinking about what's not working for me? Why am I so ugly? Why am I so overweight? Why am I this, whatever negative thought? If you keep focusing on that, universal law states whatever you feed energy to expands. Same thing with gratitude. I love myself. I'm happy. I'm healthy. What you feed your body with your mind, you get. You don't become you don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. What you are your thoughts. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Dr. Wayne Dyer changed my life. We have, it's estimated, 60,000 thoughts every single day. And they have estimated that 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts from yesterday. And 85% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. So how many of you talk to yourself during the day? Raise your hand if you talk to yourself during the day. Okay. Some of you didn't raise your hand and you're saying, do I talk to myself? I don't know if I talk to myself. I think I talk to myself. Let's give you an example of how we all talk to ourselves, but we're not really thinking. And I'm not going to do a Q&A, but I'm going to do Q&A with the book signing just because I don't have enough time. Yeah, but I'll get to your question, I promise. I saw you at the mic. I don't want you to just stand there. Let's do a little example here. We're going to say this word, silk, 5 times in a row. And then I'm going to ask you a quick question, and out loud, you're going to answer that question. So the word is silk. We're going to say it 5 times. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Silk, 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 silk. What do cows drink? A lot of you said milk. Cows do not drink milk, they drink water. But that's a silly example of how we're not conscious of those thoughts, right? We want to become aware. That's because George Bernard Shaw said 2% of the population think, 3% of the population think they think, and 95% of the population would rather die than think. So we want to control your thoughts because Dr. Bruce Lipton has proven your thoughts are a frequency that penetrate your cell membranes that communicate with your DNA to produce proteins and stem cells. Your thoughts produce proteins and stem cells. If it's a negative thought, what I call a stinking thinking thought, actually Zig Ziglar called it that, it's going to produce inflammatory proteins. So I always say, if your thinking is stinking, your dreams are shrinking. Thoughts become things. The great Bob Proctor, my mentor, saved my life, changed my life. He's passed away this year. If you see it in your mind, you will hold it in your hand. This is so empowering to me because if we have 60,000 thoughts every single day, that's 60,000 opportunities to put your body in a healing state. Oh, how amazing is that? You have control here. Here's another example. Some of you might know this book, The Hidden Messages in Water. This doctor, Dr. Emoto, he looked at magnetic resonance analysis and technology. This is going to blow your mind if you've never heard of this. And high-speed photographs. And he used different images and put words water with different images with words written on it next to the water. And you can see here, when you put the words love and gratitude, beautiful crystals were formed from that water. When you wrote the words, you disgust me, look how ugly that looks. Eternal and peace, beautiful crystals formed from the water. Evil, the word evil, look at that. And then thank you, beautiful crystals. All right, Ben, how does this relate to me? This is water. Well, 70% of the human body is made up of water. So think about the thoughts you're thinking and what it's doing to your body. So here's a little hack for you. On your bottle of water, write the words, I love you, or I am grateful. On your bottle of water, drink that throughout the day and fix your thoughts as well. Because you are the most influential person you'll speak to today. Hands down. So I'm going to give you a crazy example here. Oh, you like the shirt? Some people get offended by that, sure, but I was studying Bob Proctor just a couple months ago. My fiance could attest. My beautiful fiance, Natasha. Natasha Coelho on YouTube, go follow her. And Bob Proctor was talking about being in a car, looking at clouds, and making clouds disappear with his thoughts. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I love you, Bob, but this is wild, man. You're losing me here. And then he explained why. Because thoughts are energy, one of the most powerful energy frequencies out there, and clouds are energy. And I thought, that makes sense. Let me try this. So I go on my balcony, and I start staring at a cloud. I'm focused on it. I'm like, do I blink? Should I blink? I need to blink. But I'm staring at it, and I'm envisioning just the cloud dissipating before my eyes, and the cloud disappeared in 60 seconds. And I walk into the bedroom, I'm like, Natasha, I just made a cloud disappear with my thoughts. She's like, what? Let me show you, pick a cloud, right? She picked a cloud, did it. And did it again and again and again and again. And I encourage you, later on today, maybe we all do it together later, find a cloud, stare at it, imagine it dissipating, and your thoughts are that powerful. We're not going to even understand ever how powerful our thoughts are, but that's a perfect example. So if you do it, let me know how it works for you. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with here is the power of living on purpose with your purpose. Please stop following the crowd. Start following your unique purpose, the reason you're here, which is unique to you. I love this quote, which is, in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. What would you say is the primary cause of why somebody would get a heart attack or a stroke for the first time? What do you think? Stress. People would say things like obesity, smoking, bad fats, cholesterol. I know you know a lot about that, Doc. Well, there was a book that came out in 1989 called Recovering the Soul. What a great title. From Dr. Larry Dossey. And this was in the late 80s, and they predicted when individuals had their first heart attack. And it was Monday morning between 8 and 9 a.m., that's tomorrow, by the way, when the majority of people had their first heart attack. 85% going to jobs they hate, stressing out about it. That's how important it is to live on purpose with your purpose. Because most people tiptoe their way through life hoping to land safely on death's door. I know this is not really keto related, but I promise you, find out what's important to you, live on purpose with your purpose, stop caring about what other people think, because we just established people are not thinking. Change your oils, change your fats, change your thoughts, change your environment, and your human body is so amazing, it could heal itself. It really can. Here's the last thing I'm going to leave you with right now. And I'm getting through the slides. You proud of me? I mean, I had a lot. 1 in 176 million are the odds of winning the national lottery. Let me see if I could jump down here, be the first speaker to jump down here. 1 in 176 million are the chances of winning the national lottery. But you still buy a ticket, right? 1 in 3.7 million are the chances of getting into a plane crash. But we still take the flight. I mean, many of you took the flight to get here, right? 1 in 4,000 are the odds of getting into a car accident, but we still drive. 1 in 400 trillion are the chances of being born on planet Earth. Yet we still question, is our life worth living? Is my life worth living? Am I good enough? You still continue to do things that make you unhappy. Give your body crappy food. Because one day, you're going to wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you always wanted to do. Do it now. Let's turn one day, taking all this information, one day I'm going to apply that. Let's take that one day and let's turn it into day one. Because every single one of you has a story. You have an amazing human body, and your body is built to heal. And you're going to learn so much more with the next speaker, Dr. Pampa, and Dr. Mindy Pelz after that. They're going to empower you with amazing research, amazing strategies on feast-famine cycling, fasting strategies, detox, fasting for women, autophagy, mTOR. And I can't wait to sit down and learn from them right now. So I want to say thank you so much for your time and attention. I love and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much.